Coming up on Parks and Rec TV, take a trip down the Monocacy River with us using the new Scenic Water Trail map. Then we'll discover our World War II heritage with a living history presenter. Frederick County Parks and Recreation has worked in conjunction with the Maryland Department of Natural Resources, the City of Frederick Parks and Rec Department, the National Park Service, Frederick County Tourism, and the Monocacy National Battlefield to create a water trail map, which spans 41 miles along the Monocacy River.
Hi, I'm Andy Oggenbaugh with the Monocacy Advisory Board, and this is Bob here.
I'm Bob Whiting. I'm a Frederick County member of the Advisory Board. The river map includes the lower 41 plus miles of the Monocacy River.
In Frederick County on the Monocacy River, there's 9 access points basically that start on Route 77 up between Detour and Rocky Ridge. And it runs the full length of 40 some miles, 47 miles, 41 miles down to the mouth of Monocacy, which is off of Mouth of Monocacy Road at the border of Montgomery County and Frederick County. We're in Pine Cliff Park here, which is give or take about the middle of the river, and this is one of the access points. And they're spread out on the river anywhere from 3 to 6 miles apart. The purpose of the map is first off, it was prepared by the Frederick County Division of Park and Recreation with the intent of showing what's available along the river, including primarily the access points, but also what else is available along the river to do.
It's one of the improvements in this version as opposed to the last version, where this version of the map shows the access points, and with the little icon, the symbol that's used by it, you can tell right off whether you have a boat ramp like what we're standing on here at Pine Cliff Park, or just a more primitive access that would not be suitable for people that have a power boat and want to launch that into the river. So that's a big help to have the definition in there of the symbols.
So what are some of the sites we've seen along the river? I think Bob may have floated the river a few more times than I have, but I had a neat adventure last Memorial Day. I floated the full length of the river, starting at the top up in the Pennsylvania line all the way down to the mouth. Some of the things I ran into, of course, is the wildlife, the bald eagles. There's a couple nesting pairs of bald eagles on the river. Early spring, you got a lot of wood ducks and mallards that are nesting. That's really cool. One of the things that I really like is the battlefield. There's a lot of interesting features in and around the river once you get off and explore the battlefield. And I think one of the things that I really enjoyed was up above Route 28, there's a series of cliffs through the river, and they're pretty spectacular to see. What else, Bob?
Well, I think one of the nicest sights is the going under Lagore Bridge, not too far
cool.
from the beginning of the map on below Rocky Ridge. That structure of that is just really interesting to paddle through there and view that. In addition to that, there's just that people are amazed by how scenic the river is once you get on. A lot of people will drive over it and think, why do you want to get out on this river? There's nothing on that, but there is once you get down on it and see it from river level. There are many wooded bluffs with rock outcroppings that are scenic, and there's a lot of just pleasant farmland in addition to the obvious. Andy has mentioned wildlife. I've had a number of wildlife encounters that I thought were pretty interesting. One winter day, a bunch of us put in at Route 77, paddled down around a bend and came to there was ice on the river in places in the coves, and we encountered a bunch of geese, and the geese squawked and flew off, all but one. Now there was one goose that flapped its wings and made a commotion, but it didn't leave the water. When we got down a little bit closer, we saw that it was in a cove that had frozen over, and apparently the goose got frozen into that cove area and the ice in there. As we got closer, and we were trying to give it some room, as we got closer, the thing started squawking louder, and then it finally broke away and flew off. That was one incident, and I have a couple others.
Well, as Bob mentioned, one of the things that I noticed last spring when I was floating the river was that for the majority of the river and for almost the whole length of the river, it is tree lined. And even though you're going through the city of Frederick or you're going through these agricultural areas, you are really secluded and you feel like you're in a wild area, that you're in the woods on the river. The river banks are tree lined, and that really makes for a nice setting for an afternoon float down the river. It's a nice sunny day. We've had a lot of snow and rain this winter, and I strongly suggest that if you want to get out on the river, you go ahead and get a copy of the new map put out by Frederick County Division of Parks and Rec, and just come on out and enjoy the river. It's a nice leisure river that you can float a couple miles at a time at these access points. Come on out and enjoy it, Bob.
Definitely, I agree. I'm a paddler and a fisherman, and I enjoy the Monocacy River for both of those activities.
Anyone interested in receiving a copy of the Monocacy Water Trail map can call 301-600-1646. In August, come out to Rose Hill Manor Park and learn about life during the World War II era through museum exhibits and stroll through the antique car show to view early means of transportation utilized throughout history.
Rose Hill Manor will host the World War II event on August 16th and 17th. We will have living history reenactors as well as special exhibits, both indoors and out. The event is free to the public. We'll have a variety of activities. You can enjoy touring through the museum buildings. On Saturday, you can enjoy a miniature play. We'll have living history reenactors here both days. We look forward to our car show, an annual event with the Francis Scott Key Car Club, which will be antique cars on display on Sunday. So there'll be activities both days. World War II veterans will be here to speak with you as well. There will be period food available as well as ice cream to be enjoyed in our canteen. You can learn about victory gardens and why food preservation was so important for our ancestors, especially during this time period. Come listen to the stories of World War II veterans. We invite all veterans to join us for the day. Preserving the past and making connections for our visitors is part of our mission here and one of the things that this event allows us to do. There is no pre-registration for visitors. Please just come on in and join us both days. Reenactors can pre-register by contacting us through our website at recreator.com.
When I was 9 years old, my father did some history about his uncle who had served in Korea. His uncle was subsequently killed in Korea, and he wrote a book about that. That sparked my interest in American history. By the time I was 14, I became a living historian for World War II, and now my interest also includes World War II, Korea, as well as Vietnam. This particular event is going to be about World War II, and I've been doing this about 7 years. This particular event at Rose Hill Manor is important to me because it focuses its direction towards children. To me, that is something very special. I like to be able to teach history to the kids of the future and to remember the history. Without it, we're bound to repeat it, and I don't want to see that happen. I believe it's important to keep the history alive in this particular area in Frederick because we have so many veterans here. By keeping it alive, we're making sure that they know that their heroism was never forgotten. And I want to thank all the veterans out there as well for their service. The public will gain a great respect and appreciation for the veterans through this event. They'll be able to go hands-on and see what their grandfathers and great-grandfathers now was able to do and were able to see. Through these experiences, they'll be able to understand it better. something more than a school textbook can ever teach you. There's several ways you can become a participant in this event. If you're already a current reenactor or a living historian, you can contact Rose Hill Manor directly at Rose Hill Manor's website or by calling them. And if you're new to reenacting and the reenacting community, you can go on the internet as well and look up some different reenacting groups and try to contact them. Obviously, you can go out to any Army surplus store and try to find as much World War II stuff as you can to start it rolling and show up to the event and start talking to people. Anybody that's thinking about coming to the event this year, they could expect to see is equipment just like what's behind me here, which is a Jeep, and you can also see possibly a deuce and a half and some other big military equipment. Also, there's going to be a collection of firearms like you see behind me, the M1 carbine as well as a helmet. I highly encourage anybody that has an interest in World War II to come out this year to the World War II weekend at Rose Hill Manor to further your knowledge of World War II, and maybe it's a good place to start. Bring the kids, bring the whole family. It'll be a great event.
So join us on August 16th and 17th to explore the history of World War II and learn how Rose Hill Manor and Frederick County played a part.
Thank you for joining us at Parks and Rec TV. Stay tuned for a list of upcoming programs and events. And until next time, we'll see you in the parks.